Hey besties, grab your ration books and roll up your sleeves because Miss F is about to spill some steaming hot tea about what life was like here in the U.S. during World War II. Spoiler alert, it was intense. Like Great Depression is over, but don't get too comfy kind of intense. When the U.S. got dragged into World War II after Pearl Harbor, yes, dragged, we did not RSVP to that party, the government went from chill isolationist vibes to full on war mode. Factories that once made cars, now they're making tanks. Lipstick factories, girl, they're turning out bullets. This is what we call total war. Every part of the economy, every citizen was expected to contribute. And honey, that government spending, it skyrocketed. Military contracts were flowing like hot coffee. The flood of jobs and cash, bye bye Great Depression. Even before Pearl Harbor, the U.S. saw the storm clouds gathering. In 1940, Congress passed the Selective Service Act, a peacetime draft. The first time in U.S. history. Boys between 21 and 35 got little love letters from Uncle Sam saying, "Surprise! You're in the Army now." Total panic at the post office. With so many resources heading to the front lines to support our troops, rubber, metal, food, fuel, Americans at home had to tighten their belts. Add to that the shortage of farm workers, and you've got yourself a recipe for rationing. You want butter, sugar, meat, or coffee? Better have a ration stamp, sweetie. Gasoline? Carpool or you're walking. That's where victory gardens came in. Backyard tomatoes were practically a badge of patriotism. If you could grow it yourself, you didn't take from the war effort. Very cottagecore meets military chic. With the men off fighting, women stepped up and showed out. Enter Rosie the Riveter, the flexin' queen of wartime posters. Women were building planes, ships, tanks, you name it. But let's be real. Black women and other women of color were often the last hired and first fired. That's why FDR issued Executive Order 8802, banning discrimination in defense industry hiring. Not out of the kindness of his heart. He was under serious pressure from civil rights leaders like A. Philip Randolph. Speaking of Randolph, Black Americans weren't about to fight racism overseas while living under segregation at home. The Double V campaign demanded victory abroad and victory at home against fascism and racism. Period. But while Black Americans were demanding more freedom, others were losing it completely. In 1942, FDR signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the forced relocation of over 100,000 Japanese Americans to internment camps. Most were U.S. citizens. No trial, no crime, just fear and prejudice. They lost their homes, businesses, entire lives just because of their ancestry. It was ugly. One man, Fred Korematsu, said no thanks to being relocated. He was arrested, and his case went all the way to the Supreme Court. In Korematsu versus the United States in 1944, the court ruled 6-3 that the internment was constitutional because of military necessity. Total heartbreak. But here's the twist. In the 1980s, the government finally admitted it had messed up. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, formally apologizing for the internment and offering $20,000 in restitution to each surviving victim. Late? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. And while we're on the subject of injustice, let's spill on the Zoot Suit Riots. In 1943, young Mexican-American men in LA were wearing big, bold zoot suits, a fashion statement with serious cultural pride. White servicemen saw the look as unpatriotic because of wartime fabric rationing. That turned into several nights of violence where sailors attacked anyone in a zoot suit. Police, they mostly arrested the victims. The racism was louder than the jazz clubs. The government was also serving up propaganda realness. Posters, films, cartoons. Everywhere you turned, there was Uncle Sam asking for war bonds or reminding you to zip your lips. They warned that loose lips sink ships and encouraged citizens to report suspicious activity. What did that mean in practice? Well, People turned in their neighbors for speaking German at church. Folks side-eyed anyone with a Japanese-sounding name. Paranoia was the national pastime. Wartime America was a whole vibe. Mobilization pulled us out of the Depression. Women and minorities stepped up. The government grew a lot. But let's not forget, while many rallied behind the flag, others were shoved to the margins. This era was full of contradictions: freedom versus internment, unity versus discrimination, prosperity versus sacrifice. And that, my darlings, is the tea. If you love this tea party and want more juicy U.S. history drama, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a spill. Stick around, because next time we're diving into McCarthy's 15 minutes of paranoia fame, witch hunts, red scares, and receipts. You know Miss F will bring the drama.